Hi, welcome to H2O-incorporated.com. I'm Thomas Hayat, and today I'd like to make a video to explain the difference between astrology, whether it would be Eastern Chinese or Western Greek astrology, or even Maya or Arabic astrology, and what I'm doing, which is astrology engineering, which is how it works, how it all connects. So that's, for example, the Greek zodiac, okay, with Aries first, Taurus second, Gemini third, and that's where the Earth is month after month in the spring, going around the sun. The Greek thought of it as a geocentric system. They thought it was the sun that was orbiting around the Earth. And that's the only difference, but really it's not the sun that is going from one side to another, it's the Earth. When the sun moves from one house to another, it's the entire solar system that moves, and that is within the Milky Way galaxy. And right now, our solar system is entering in Aquarius, the whole solar system, which is why we call it the era of Aquarius, because it takes 26,000 years for the solar system to go around the sun. So you divide that by 12 signs and you get something around 2,166 years for one era. So when they say, ooh, apocalypse, 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 end of the world, no, it's not the end of the world. We're just changing to a new chapter. We're going to address something else. So why do I make this video? Because I have friends on both sides, or I should say had. Astronomers, so scientists who do go through the academic process of mathematics and science and so on, and astrologers, which mostly are self-taught because there is no real school for it, they're not accredited, and often they lack the actual science behind things. So we end up with a lot of people who just make videos about personality traits. Some of them do take the planets into consideration and will show you a chart of the sky at the time to explain things. That adds credibility and it also makes more sense. But for the most part, people tend to make videos with a lot of graphics because it looks pretty, but they don't really have much to say. And so we end up losing everybody's time or wasting their time teaching them the level of our ignorance. That's why I stopped looking at astrology and the condescending, nationalistic, chauvinistic view of whatever we hold is the truth and only we have the truth, because there's a problematic with that. How come astrology was created in the beginning, whether by the Chinese in 2256 before Christ by Emperor Yahoo to create a calendar, or by the Maya on August 11, 3114 before Christ to also create a calendar, or by the Zoroastrians of Iran to also create the calendar for agriculture? This is the beginning of sedimentarity. This is why we actually looked at the star to find the timing of when to plant, when to harvest, when to work the earth, etc. And based on that, we knew when to feed the families, how to create stocks so that we could have extra if we want to take an army to take over another land, etc. That's the basic foundation of astrology, is prediction. So people who think that, no, we cannot predict anything because astronomy is a science and astrology is bullshit, that's untrue. You can very well predict the tides of the moon because it is very cyclical. Similarly, you can predict the menstrual cycle of a woman, which is tied to the moon. Similarly, you can also tie the ovulation time, which is linked to the 7 days that the moon spends within the Earth magnetosphere, which changes the magnetosphere relationship to us. Professor John Eccles of Oxford University, who was born in Australia, got a Nobel Prize in '63 for his work on neurology, on the disturbance of geomagnetic disturbance on the human brain, and how it increased solar storm, for example, could increase the intake number of patients in psychiatric asylum and everything. But we don't link the things. You see, we practice astrology in one drawer, astronomy in another building in an observatory, and then mathematics in a whole nother building, and medicine, I mean, it is completely disconnected. Astrology engineering is layering all of this on top of each other and synchronizing it so that we have one key, just one key, that opens all the doors. So I can imagine the wheels spinning in your head. Who does this guy think he is? It's not about who I think I am. It's about the investigation I've done, the work I've done on everybody else preceding me for over 5,000 years. And it is because I stood on the shoulders of giants like Cleopatra and even Julius Caesar, who gave us the Julian calendar that we use today, that now I can put the alphabets together with the zodiac, with the years, with the Chinese zodiac, with the medicine of the Vedic and everything in one synchronized wheel. Which solves a hell of a lot of problem when you come to realize that if you can teach everything with just one sheet of paper and one algorithm, you don't need to deforest the forest to print 60 different books for 60 different disciplines that have absolutely no link between one another. People will tell you that there's no link between astrology and studying volcanology, when the reality of things is astrology is the study of celestial objects and their effects on us on Earth. That's the very definition. So how can you say it has no effect on volcanology when Iceland is losing entire cities of people being displaced simply because of this perpendicularity that we can, or a conjunction we get with Jupiter and the Sun being in the same house, which also ends up lining up with the eye of Iceland, the sea as well. I mean, I can't make all of this synchronized by hazard. It took over 40 years worth of observation and 12 years of serious 18 hours a day, just boom, 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 boom. So people who just want to discredit or think that they can just stand on a high horse thinking, well, I've been practicing astrology for 20 years, 40 years, even if you practice it for 800 years, if you only practice one form of astrology, you're omitting one huge part of it. The definition of astrology is indeed the effect of celestial object on us on Earth. But you cannot practice astrology without a longitude and a latitude. So it is highly contingent on where do you live. And where you live will determine what can you observe in the sky. If you live in Machu Picchu, like the Mayan, you have 2 seasons in the year, dry and rainy. When it's raining, you can't see the planets and observe the sky very much in rainy season. But there's one thing you can see from the top of the mountain in the rainy season. And that's Venus every morning, because the mist and the dew goes all the way down to the bottom of the mountain. You got a clear sky and you can see the morning star just shooting down, and you time that. So that's why they had a system based 20, because 5 fingers in one hand, 5 in the other, 10 toes. That's easy to count and teach to others because everything is synchronized and universally connected, as opposed to, okay, I practice Greek astrology and that's where it's at, or oh no, I practice Vedic astrology, which tells me that Saturn is the governor of Uranus. Yeah, but the problem with Vedic astrology is that it was done so long ago that they didn't even know that Uranus existed. They didn't have the telescopes or equipment that we have now to actually spot Neptune and know that, yes, indeed, the placement of that planet does affect Pisces the most. So now astrology had to be rethink and retailored. It's an adjustment. It took years, hundreds of years, and thousands of years. Now, because we have the internet, we're able to actually put it together in a puzzle. But if we constantly just argue based on ego, or what my perception is, what my opinion is, or analysis, personal or whatever, you're never going to get anywhere. Hence, the 12 last years that I worked so hard to create one key. This is only possible because of selflessness. I repeat, selflessness. I am not the center of this. The center of this is the sun and the theorem of Thales. You start with that and mathematics, you might get to becoming an astrology engineer and understand everything under the sun. If you want to be a astrologer, professional or otherwise, on YouTube making videos based on the Greek zodiac or only the Chinese zodiac, you might end up giving some good advice, but you might miss the whole thing altogether because of the lack of accuracy, of synchronicity that you don't have by not knowing both, or by not knowing all three with Vedic, or all four with Mega, or the Korean, etc. The point I'm trying to make here, just so, and it's not to belittle you, is just for those of you who think that astrology is just something you're going to graduate in 2 years and you'll be the best advisor in the world, understand that whatever you know about astrology is nothing but the tip of one flake on the top of an iceberg, if you only know Greek astrology. Because the reality of things is that every single alphabet that exists out there is actually numerical to track the orbit of a planet that is around us. And so when you get to astrology engineering, then you'll be able to move from just a Greek and Roman alphabet to upward of 10 alphabets and understand the link between each alphabet and what they are tracking. Okay? This video is long enough as it is. I'm not going to make it any longer. But there's a lot more to it, and it's mathematics, history, mythology of every civilization, understanding who created what and when, including the zero, Brahmagupta in India. It englobes a ton of knowledge. So if you think you're going to get away with just watching 5 YouTube videos and spending some time on Facebook and a bit of Wikipedia, you got another thing coming. If you want to become an astrology engineer and really help change this world for the better and educate everybody on the same equal footing, it has to be about selflessness, has to be about long, hard hours of analysis of thousands of charts. Put that in, okay? It's not just one thing, one wheel, and we're done. That's not how it works. Thank you for your time, and good luck.